You know I could do the same thing without wasting 8 hours of people's time. You know what? Let's give it a go. Okay, I plan on talking about 3 main points for this video, which are story, freedom, and atmosphere. Now, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the story. Now, one thing that Fallout 3 does better than New Vegas is having a more compelling main storyline. Now, when you first start out during the Vault intro, you get to go through multiple time skips in the player's life in the Vault, from your 10th birthday to taking the GOAT exam. But one day you soon discover that your father left the Vault and the Overseer guards are after you, which gives new players a reason to get them engaged in the story to go find their father. And the rest of the main quest line is full with memorable moments that stick with the player long after the game is over. A couple examples of this would be the sacrifice of your father in Project Purity, and the final outcome you can make for the betterment of the DC wasteland. The main story helped drive the narrative forward and gave players a sense of purpose in their exploration of the wasteland. New Vegas, on the other hand, had a more political storyline that revolved around factions vying for control of the Mojave. While this approach offered a more complex and nuanced narrative, it does not resonate with players in the same way that Fallout 3's more main storyline did. In contrast, Fallout New Vegas' main questline can be quite disjointed and lacking in emotional impact for players, and one of the strongest examples for this has to be Benny. During the intro of New Vegas, you get ambushed by Benny and end up almost getting killed by him. But when you meet him later in the storyline to exact your revenge, he becomes the opposite of what he was in the intro, to talking a big game in the intro from trying to weasel out of his bad situation at the Tops Casino.
From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
As H-Bomb noted, Colonel Autumn stands for nothing, and he turns on a dime. This is especially bad, considering he's supposed to be the main antagonist of the entire game, but you can't even say what his motives are, and he is hardly unique in being poorly written. Most NPCs in the game are the exact same way.
What in the goddamn? Let's keep this in the groove, hey? Smooth moves, smooth. Hello? The guy everyone saw go in the Lucky 38, that was you? Oh, shit. You don't want to do that, baby. Not without hearing what I gotta say first. What say you and me cash out? Go somewhere more private-like. Any questions you got, I'll answer.
The intro of the game does an effective job of making Benny the primary villain of the game, and even mid-game, he's made out to be a big deal. But when you finally encounter him in the casino, he becomes one of the most biggest joke of an antagonist in the entire Fallout series, but other than that, he can be killed surprisingly easy for what the game made him out to be. Even the lesser important characters have legions of minions to send unto you before encountering the boss themselves, but Benny, who's no doubt one of the most important characters of the game, only has 4 bodyguards who can be dealt with very easily. If you plan to kill someone like Caesar, you have to deal with the whole fort, which is why killing Benny should have been more climatic. But once you kill Benny, your motivation to continue the story stops there. You don't have much of a reason to help the other factions in the Mojave other than Mr. House due to him sending Victor to save you after getting shot by Benny. It would have worked better if there were more ways to keep the player invested in the story, even after defeating Benny. The game does gives you lots of freedom in the choices you can make in the main quest line. But what's the point in doing so if there is no player motivation? One of the other things we will be talking about is freedom, and Fallout 3 is a good example of this. When you first leave the Vault, you can go anywhere you want in the map, and there is nothing stopping you from doing so. The map is completely open to the player. But for Fallout New Vegas, you're basically forced down a path for the first part of the game. If you want to go to New Vegas, your only real option is to go around the way the main quest points you to, and most new players will end up getting discouraged from going up north to Vegas due to the Deathclaws and Cazadors that surround northern Goodsprings, which is something that harms the game in terms of freedom. You may be giving lots of choices in story, but gameplay-wise you really can't do much. Now for my last bit of the video will be about something that gives Fallout its trademark, which is atmosphere. I personally feel that Fallout 3 was the closest thing to what the original Fallout game had captured, with its dread, destruction, and fear. The DC Wasteland was far more immersive than the Mojave, and this is something I really can't blame New Vegas for, since the developers were trying to do something different than what the original Fallout games did. And the DLC at least make up for this, with it having similar themes with Fallout 1 and 2, and some good examples of DLC would be Lonesome Road and Honest Hearts.
The Power of the Atom Quest is another example of Todd's over-the-top, violence is funny, itchy and scratchy design approach.
I was the kid. I was writing games when I was, 12, whatever. And the other kids in the block would say, I'm going to play quarterback for the Cowboys. And I'd be like, I'm going to make video games, and everyone's going to play them. Like, you dork. Go back to the chess club. Who's laughing now?